I had a large amount of crypto that I had been self-custodying, and in 2020 or so, a company by the name of Celsius was offering yield on your crypto. And they had a very convincing front man who guaranteed everybody that all they did was over collateralized loans, which are very safe, very safe. Over collateralized loans. What they said they were doing was they would take crypto as collateral and they would make it liquid by lending out dollars, basically. Long story short, this is not what they were doing. There's a lot of speculation as to what they were doing, but it wasn't making money. Is not what they were doing. They were spending money, they were losing money, they were not making money. And despite all the things that they were saying, suddenly they just shut down. They found themselves insolvent. They owed creditors more money, far more crypto than they had on their balance sheets. Welcome to the Blockhead Podcast, where we share the most unpopular opinions in crypto. My name is Duh, and today our unpopular opinion is one that is close to me, because today I want to share with you a story that's going to hopefully help you not make the same mistakes that I have made. And it's cost me a lot of money, and hopefully it will save you a lot of money. And what is that mistake? It's trusting my money with other people. All right. And in this case, I'm talking about crypto. Now, the whole point of crypto, in case you are unaware, is that you don't have to trust your money with other people. Now, in the 1920s, I may have some of the facts wrong here, but the general story is going to remain true. Part of what caused the Great Recession is that there was a collapse of the banks. And what caused the banks to collapse was bank runs. And this isn't just a 1920s phenomenon. I'm recording this in 2023, where if you remember all the way back to March of 2023, a couple of medium-sized US banks also faced bank runs in dramatic fashion, much faster than ever was possible in 1920s. So what's a bank run? A bank run is where all of the customers that have stored their money in the bank for safekeeping, a large majority of them show up to retrieve their funds from the bank. And for anybody that's not familiar with how banking works, the money's not in the bank. The money's not really there. That's not how banks work. Banks will sometimes keep a small reserve so that a small number of people can redeem their money at any given time. But the way a bank works is you take your money there, it then becomes their money, and they promise it back to you. They then take that money and invest it elsewhere in mortgage-backed securities and government bonds and whatever the particular bank is investing in. It's supposed to be less risky investments. However, what that is at any given time, it can fluctuate. Most recently, Silicon Valley Bank had a problem because they were invested in long-term government bonds, which is supposed to be amongst the safest of assets, but in this case, it wasn't. All right. So in a bank run, the money's not there. It's invested somewhere else. And it can be in loans for, they've loaned it out to other customers for their mortgages or cars. So in a bank run, if everybody shows up, or even 20% of people show up to pull their money out of the bank becomes insolvent or illiquid at the very least. And so that is why the FDIC, as well as the Federal Reserve, was put in place so that these bank failures didn't happen. The FDIC, in case you are unaware, is just insurance against this happening at your bank. So if you put your money in the bank and that bank becomes illiquid or insolvent, the FDIC ensures that you will get your money back. If you're in the US, and that's only up to $250,000. Now, it's not that they actually plan to pay everybody. It's really to calm people's fears, because if people feel that their money's insured, there's much less chance of a bank run actually happening. If they actually had to pay, if there was a massive bank runs going on, the FDIC could never in a million years cover the amount that it would take to pay back all customers. But they're there to make people feel as if they can. So we are in the fiat system. We all have to trust the banks that they are not going to go insolvent. We have to trust that the FDIC is not going to go insolvent. And in the US, at least, they have a reasonable track record. There's been many instances of mishandling of funds, but there's a long legacy of regulations that have been put in place to make sure that people in these banks behave and act prudently with your money. And so far, it's worked out pretty well. Now, crypto, amongst other things, was invented and still exists so that you don't have to trust an intermediary. You can take sovereignty of your funds. Now, if you have, $100, not a big deal. You can take sovereignty of your funds. But I'm talking about large amounts. If you want to have $250,000 or $40 million, right? In fact, if you have your $40 million and you put it in the bank, I'd like to remind you, it's not insured by the FDIC. Only up to $250,000 is insured. Now, with crypto, you can, and you should, this is the point of the podcast, you should self-custody your funds, because you don't have to trust an intermediary anymore. This, to me, is the point of crypto. And it's something that I got lazy with, and it came back to bite me. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes as I made. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Take one lesson home. If you are not self-custodying your funds, you have no business dealing with crypto. Self-custody. Not your keys, not your crypto. So I'm going to tell you my story now. I've been in the crypto space since about 2013, and I got in for this very reason. I found it fascinating that we could cut out unnecessary middlemen, not only the banks, but the credit card processors. That's where I thought people were going to see the value, is just the fact that you can now send money directly electronically without the need of a credit card processor, an unnecessary tax that everybody pays on everything they buy with a credit card or without a credit card, even, because the prices are baked into the products. But I had a large amount of crypto that I had been self-custodying, and in 2020 or so, a company by the name of Celsius was offering yield on your crypto. And they had a very convincing front man who guaranteed everybody that all they did was over-collateralized loans, which are very safe, very safe. Over-collateralized loans. What they said they were doing was they would take crypto as collateral and they would make it liquid by lending out dollars. Basically, they would lend you dollars. If you gave them $250,000 in crypto, they would give you $100,000 in fiat and hold your crypto as collateral. And if you put crypto on, they would also lend out other people's crypto. So if you put in your crypto as collateral, you could borrow somebody else's crypto so long as you had collateral on the platform. Long story short, this is not what they were doing. There's a lot of speculation as to what they were doing, but it wasn't making money. It's not what they were doing. They were spending money, they were losing money, they were not making money. And despite all the things that they were saying, suddenly they just shut down. They found themselves insolvent. They owed creditors more money, far more crypto than they had on their balance sheets. And I knew better. It was silly. I've been listening to Andreas Antonopoulos, who has been preaching forever, not your crypto, or not your keys, not your crypto. But this time it hit hard. This time it hit for real. And so I'm going to pass that message on to you, and I'm going to hope that you listen, because for two reasons. And the number one reason is because that's the point. That's the point of crypto. So if you're not self-custodying, you're doing it wrong. In my case, I got sucked in by the yield. They were offering incentives. It seemed reasonable. There was a lot of VC money. I assumed they were just paying incentives from VC investment in the company, though the incentives seemed like they couldn't last. I assumed that they were being paid from VC investment money, but it wasn't. It was just being paid from other customer funds. Anyway, mistake I made was to trust somebody else to hold my crypto. So what I want you to do is not make the same mistake. Not your keys, not your crypto. Now, hopefully you don't have to learn the hard way like I did. But you'll learn sooner or later. Hopefully it's now through this podcast and not through losing tons of money like I did. So when you buy crypto, whether it's a small amount or a large amount, Don't leave it on the exchange. If you buy from Coinbase, immediately withdraw to a self-custodial wallet. If you are buying large amounts, that you would be sad if they disappeared, if it would affect your life, if it disappeared. It needs to be in a cold storage wallet. It needs to be in some sort of wallet that does not connect to the internet. You can use a Trezor or a Ledger, or there's probably a dozen of them out there now, at least. Hold it in cold storage if it's going to be a large amount of money. If it's going to be a small amount of money, you still need to self-custody, but you can hold a small amount of money if it wouldn't affect your life if it disappeared, $50 or whatever a small amount of money is for you. Go ahead, put it in your MetaMask wallet, on your browser wallet, put it in some kind of new Robinhood wallet on your phone. But however you do it, self-custody. Okay. Now, I know that you think it's just my story. It was just me that lost money to Celsius, but it wasn't. I'm not sure how many people there are. You can actually look it up on the court docket if you want. I believe there's maybe 200,000 people that had money stolen by this con man. But that's not it. And when I say I should have known better, it's because right immediately when I first got into crypto, the very first time that this happened. And in that case, it was the takedown of the Silk Road. Now, that was an illegal marketplace, and the funds were taken by the US government. And however you might feel about that, the funds were taken by the US government. All right. The funds were taken is the name of the game. If you self-custody, your funds cannot be taken. Now, shortly after that was the collapse of Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox was the very first Bitcoin exchange. And it was just terribly run. I don't know how much of it was fraud and how much of it was incompetence, but the folks that used that exchange lost their crypto. They thought they had Bitcoin, but they didn't. Mt. Gox had Bitcoin. If it's not in your wallet, it's not your Bitcoin. Following Mt. Gox, shortly thereafter, BTCE, an exchange that I did use, got shut down. All the funds gone. Quadriga, funds gone. Bitstamp, that one had a hack. Those funds were gone. Bitstamp made it right. Kudos to you, Bitstamp. But look, go ahead and Google it. This happens all the time, over and over again. Trust your crypto with somebody else, and it will disappear. Do not trust your crypto to someone else. And that includes even the trustworthy exchanges. I thought Celsius was trustworthy. If you think Coinbase is trustworthy, I think they're trustworthy too. I will not trust them with my crypto. Self-custody. Do not make the same mistake I did.
Hey, blockheads. Thanks for listening. We're going to get you back to the podcast in just a minute. But before we do, there's something I want to share with you. I believe that if crypto is going to succeed, what it needs is fewer speculators and more knowledgeable users. That's why my mission is to take the crypto curious and empower them to become confident, competent crypto users. So if you're like me and you believe that crypto has a role in the future beyond speculation, I invite you to join the Blockhead community. All you have to do is visit blockhead.finance and join our mailing list. Optionally, if you have a self-custody Polygon address with at least 5 Matic in it, you qualify for our Blockhead airdrop. That's right. Just put in your Polygon address and we will airdrop you some useless DUH tokens. Let us know what topic you want us to cover next, and we will double your useless tokens. Don't have a Polygon address? You are in luck. We've included a short video about how to set one up. So join us at blockhead.finance, and congratulations on being amongst the brightest of crypto early adopters. Now, back to the podcast.
I want you to self-custody for 2 reasons. One is that your crypto remains your crypto. And the other reason is because that's the point. That's the point, is to cut out the unnecessary middlemen. If you are trusting your crypto to somebody else, you're missing the point. And okay, I admit I did it. I missed the point. I trusted my crypto to somebody else, and I learned a hard lesson that cost me a lot of money. So I beg of you, self-custody your crypto, not your keys, not your crypto. Now, when it comes to not your keys, not your crypto, there's another little area that often gets overlooked, and it's kind of crazy because it's huge. It's a huge part of the crypto market. Things that are not really crypto, but kind of feel like crypto. That's things like the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and soon to be, from what everybody tells me, the Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETF, anything that sounds like that. If you think you're investing in crypto, you're not, because you can't self-custody. Let's use GBTC as an example. That's the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. This is an easy way, yes, for folks to get exposure to Bitcoin, but it's not the way you should. If you want to own Bitcoin, you should buy the underlying asset. Don't give money to somebody else that owns the Bitcoin on the promise that they own the Bitcoin, especially if it's at market price. Now, GBTC, people play in the markets when it's selling at a 30% discount. Well, determine your market risk. Determine how much it's worth to you to take that risk of somebody else custodying your Bitcoin. Is it worth 30%? Maybe. That's a pretty good discount. Is it worth 1%? Not to me. Is it worth 2%? Not to me. 10%? Probably not. 30%? Yeah, but you're still missing the point. You don't own any crypto. You can't send that crypto. You can't, yeah, you can't send that crypto to a friend. That's not a thing. So it's not your crypto. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. Not your keys, not your crypto. Stay safe out there. It is the Wild West. This is the frontier of money. This is the frontier of value. And there's a lot of scammers out there. And there's a lot of well-intentioned people in a crazy market. Stay safe, self-custody, and make sure to like and subscribe.